I would be remiss if I didn't ask you that as of the second we walked out here, the government is officially shut down. According to New York Times Siena poll, 65% of voters say Democrats should not shut the government down if their demands are not met. It's wildly unpopular. What do you make of what's happening, and what do you say to people who are wildly frustrated? And average people can't just say, I'm not coming to work, and so I'm shutting my work down. And you know, people really, really are very angry.
Well, we went through a long government shutdown during our administration when I was serving as vice president. And it was over the issue of border security and border funding. We ultimately resolved the issue separately and reopened the government. But it was on a policy issue, on an issue that was affecting people across the country. It's one of the things I really commend the new Trump administration for, is ending the crisis at our southern border. But I think what's different about this time is that now the argument is not over one party wanting to spend more and another party wanting to cut spending, which were always debates that I welcomed. But rather, it's now the difference between the Republican Party that wants to add $2 trillion to the national debt and the Democratic Party that wants to add $3 trillion to the national debt. And so for me, it's disappointing to see that people couldn't find a way to move forward, continue to fund vital programs that millions of Americans depend upon. But it's also frustrating that the consensus in Washington, D.C. Seems to be that we're going to do nothing about the national debt. Mm-hmm. I mean, I got to know Elon Musk when I was vice president. I was chairman of the National Space Council. I'm very proud of the progress that we made working with his company and other companies to put American astronauts back in space on American rockets from American soil. And I commend the efforts of the Department of Government Efficiency.
Doge.
But the fact that the Doge was only permitted to focus on a small percentage of the federal budget, rightly setting aside defense spending, which we need to be doing more of, but to look at the massive welfare state that we have and say that we can't make common sense and compassionate changes, I think is a disappointment. And the fact that there seems to be a consensus in Washington that we will do nothing to set our ship of state back on a path of fiscal responsibility. Again, I think about that speech your dad gave back in 2017. I think if we're going to tackle a nearly $40 trillion national debt, it's actually going to take both parties to do it, to pass the kind of reforms that'll make sure those programs are still there for people that need them, but that are modernized in the 21st century era. And so that to me is the other disappointing aspect of this.
How long do you think it'll be closed, or is that too difficult to predict?
Say again. How
long do you think the government will be shut down?
I think that will largely depend upon the Democratic leadership in the House and Senate. Mm-hmm. The one issue that I think Republicans need to stand firm on is the issue of Obamacare subsidies. Mm-hmm. The subsidies were increased dramatically in 2021 in the name of the pandemic under the Biden administration. That was meant to be temporary. It's set to lapse down from 400% of the federal poverty level. Mm-hmm. I think Republicans need to stand firm on that principle, win on that issue. I think if Democrats yield on that point, there's probably a way forward.
Sure.